Hello, and welcome to Blurry Photos. I am David Flora.
And I am David Stecco.
And welcome to another episode. Stecco and I are recording this after a long day at the Bristol Renaissance Fair.
A magnificent day.
Indeed.
Spent in the days of yore.
Your and alternate yours. Yeah, it was a fun time. I had a good time there.
It was legit. I go to stare at people. And by people, I mean scantily clothed girls whose parents let them out of the house. Whoops-a-daisy.
Whoopsie. There was a lot of tail there, and we mean that pretty literally.
Yeah, quite literally.
They were selling tails that girls were attaching to their bottom.
There were some dudes
regions.
wearing tails, too.
There were dudes wearing tails. Not like the Sonic and Hedgehog tails either. These are weird.
Yeah, I don't understand what the tail signifies. Does that mean like you're down with a... I don't get it. Watch me just old man this thing all up. I got your damn kids in your tails.
What does this mean? Why are you all out here?
You know, in my day, when we wanted to make a statement, we wore sarcastic T-shirts. You could read it. You know what was happening.
I wore blue jeans. It was for the working class. That's what it meant for me.
Spent $200 on work boots to work in an office. That's what I did to show them.
So we saw a lot of crazy stuff. It was really fun. Nice day for it, actually. We've been having some hot ones here lately, but today was actually a really nice day. Saw some jousting.
Some serious jousting. Good weather for eating giant turkey legs.
Giant turkey legs. Ugh. There were a lot of flaming weapons.
Yeah, lots of people. I mean, and I got the real impression that, and maybe this is just their craft, but I got the impression that maybe some of these people weren't as good as what they do as they should have been.
Are you talking about the acrobats?
Yeah.
I mean, they were attempting some fun stuff, but they didn't look like Cirque du Soleil. You know what I mean?
The guy lit his hair on fire briefly. He lit his hair on fire, and that's never on purpose.
Never is. And then they were giggling and stuff. So you know, still entertaining. That didn't take away from the fact that I'm not up there doing it.
I got to be honest. Actually, that's what I enjoyed. I enjoyed it strictly because I thought, wow, these people might actually burn themselves in front of me.
So you like the Schadenfreude approach to entertainment?
Yeah, I mean, that's not something I was anticipating getting to see. I anticipated seeing an acrobat and having him entertain me with a couple of silly jokes. But to see a man actually set himself on fire, not on purpose, well, that's just great. That's magnificent.
That's a little barbecue sauce on the side of your chicken nuggets there.
Exactly. Really well said.
Which leads us naturally to our subject for today.
When I think medieval times, when I think my lords and ladies, I think about the classic struggle of alternating current.
That's right. That's yes.
The electrical revolution.
We are going to be discussing Mr. Nikola Tesla today. The one, the only, man among men, genius among genii.
I mean, he's not even arguably one of the top 5 scientific minds of the entire 20th century.
Oh, easily.
And I mean,
top
I think
2.
Yeah, exactly. You could easily put him in the top spot and go ahead and have your arguments from there.
It's hard to compare apples and oranges, but when you're comparing fruit in general, he's in the basket and he is not rotten.
He is in the basket that your neighbor got you for watching their dogs, and you're like, oh, that's the thing I'm going to eat. Everything else I'll give to someone at work.
Right. Or put in a compost.
Yeah, he's like the pineapple.
Oh, pineapple is good.
Yeah, everyone likes that part of the fruit basket, because we get those all the time.
I've never got a fruit basket.
Nikola the Pineapple Tesla.
The Pineapple Hammer Tesla.
Exactly. My favorite Serbian, hands down.
Me too, I think. So let's get a little info on Mr. Tesla here.
Yeah.
Then we'll go into some of the hardcore,
factual,
opinionated stuff.
Yeah, we'll get into our hardcore opinions.
We love it. All right, so Nikola Tesla was born in 1856 to Serbian parents in Smiljan, Croatia. Well, today's Croatia was then Yugoslavia. His father was, guess what, a priest. We heard that one before. He was the 4th of 5 children. He had an older brother, and then the rest were sisters. And his older brother was actually killed when Nikola was 5 in a. It was an accident from the family's horse. That's how most of the stories go. There's one story where the brother may have been pushed down the cellar stairs by Nikola, or got vertigo and fell down the stairs and then blamed it on Nikola and never recovered. Kind of, there's some iffiness there, but
I'll tell you why I don't buy that whatsoever. Because if Nikola Tesla had murder in his body, we're going to get to this part, but there is a prominent American scientist who would be dead.
I would agree. So
foreshadowing.
thunder sound effect now.
Whoa. Spooky. Well done.
I hope I can find one. So his brother was killed. It had a pretty big effect on Nikola, because his parents basically compared him to his brother from then on, saying, "Oh, that's great what you did. Just imagine what your brother could have done."
He got Johnny cashed.
He kind of did.
Fully got Johnny cashed.
Kind of did. So as a child, his mother was a homemaker, but was very intelligent. They would play games during breakfast, basically, and all throughout the day of memorizing stuff, do little word games, things like that. Just stuff to keep their minds engaged, and sounded really neat. He had an amazing memory. A lot of people say it was a photographic memory, and he memorized books. He wrote poetry. He was doing all sorts of stuff as a child. And he had this weird affliction where he would see these bright flashes of light, and then objects would appear before him, or solutions to maybe a problem he was facing would just materialize in either his vision or in his head, and he would be able to figure out the problems, or if you told him the name of an object, he would visualize it perfectly and be able to see. So he had some real neat, weird mind stuff going on.
That sounds like it's like a version of autism almost.
A little bit.
They have that hyper-specific imagination where they can see fine-grained details.
Right. And that's exactly it. And throughout his life, this is some more foreshadowing, but he was able to, when he conceived of an idea for an invention, he did it all in his mind. He didn't write stuff down like most inventors. He would do the plans up in his mind, tinker with it in his mind, make sure that the stuff worked, and then make it. And it would usually be good to go right out of the gate. Like, he had done all the experiments and everything in his mind before he actually made it, so that when he was ready to make it, he made it, and it was good. It was crazy.
I'll ruin pancakes out of a box.
Right.
I couldn't have everything I need and still ruin things. That's amazing.
Right. I mean, IKEA is tough for some people. He was, yeah. It was amazing what he would do with these visions. He had some idiosyncrasies that he started developing with that too, which was sort of today would be characterized as obsessive compulsive disorder. And these included, he hated earrings on women. He could not stand earrings. He hated pearls in general, although he really liked crystals and things like that. He did not like to touch hair at all, except this is a funny little thing that a lot of books and articles throw in there. He hated hair except at the end of a revolver. So he could touch hair if he was holding a revolver, and the revolver was touching the hair. But any contact himself with hair was he just basically shat himself.
That's amazing. So he feels about hair the way, say, I'd feel about a bear. I will be happy to touch a bear with the end of maybe a revolver. I'm still going to die. But
that's pretty close.
The bear's going to get me.
He also counted constantly. He would count steps. He would count things on his way when he was walking to somewhere. He would count things that he saw. And all his calculations that he did in his mind, all the math that he did, and the inventions that he made, the calculations for them had to be divisible by 3. Or he would just scrap everything and start over until he got numbers divisible by 3. So real obsessive stuff that goes along with, and there's a few other things that I listed a bunch, but there were some other things, like particular things for when he was dining and out in social situations, things like that. But suffice it to say, he had some obsessions that he had to deal with to go along with his genius, basically. And you hear about that. I feel like that's something that, many people.
Well, absolutely. I mean,
if
his brain worked the way everybody's did, then he wouldn't be a genius. He'd be everybody.
That's so true. So let's skip to 1875.
Oh, let's please.
Can we? This is when he was 19?
Yeah.
He went to the Austrian Polytechnic to study electrical engineering.
Among other things.
Yeah. He was very gifted in math and science and all that good stuff. He only studied there basically for 2 years and maybe a semester. And then he stopped going to classes, basically, and kind of stopped college. So he didn't actually get a real degree from there.
Oh, well, then he's an idiot. Then nothing he's done is worth anything.
And that's where we're done for
thank
today.
You very much.
We hope you enjoyed our talk about the Ren Fair. He actually went to another college at the behest, I believe, of his father. Didn't stay long there either. So from what I understand, he didn't earn an actual degree. Did a lot of schooling and worked very hard when he was there, but he didn't actually finish a full program from what I read. He did, however, this is funny. He got into some gambling. Got into he was very much a fan of cards there for a while. He would play hours and hours and hours and sometimes days just playing poker. And he did get into a little bit of drinking. And his mom was real cool. She was, instead of them just being like, you stop this or we're going to beat your ass at this and make you stop, she was like, here's a wad of cash. You just, if this is what you like doing, just do it. And it kind of made
Follow
him...
your bliss.
Yeah.
Your addictive, terrible, downward spiraling bliss.
And it made him kind of pause and be like, you know what, maybe this isn't what I should be doing kind of thing. Nah, I'll stop. I'll stop this and pick up cigarette smoking.
Yeah, and further points to Nikola Tesla, because lest you think that he's some lab coat wearing weed. No. He raged. He gambled. He's not a party. He's not a sissy.
He's not. He made the rounds there for a little while. I mean, it was college life. Why
right,
not?
exactly. Whatever. And he's totally stopped going to class because that professor hated him for no reason.
So he did smoking a little. He tried smoking incessantly after that, pretty much. And then after he found out what, it was kind of hurting his body and stuff, he quit that, picked up coffee, finally stopped that after he was it was making his heart just say nay there for a while.
Literally, it was neighing like a horse.
But in 1880, this was after all the schooling and stuff, he got a job in Budapest, and he worked for the National Telephone Company there. And in a year, 1881, after a year on the job, they promoted him to chief electrician there. And he actually developed what people now think was a form of a loudspeaker, or something that wasn't just, a receiver up into your ear that you just hold on, that you can actually click on and hear it, kind of like speakerphone now. Mm-hmm. That's not confirmed. It's just, he really laid the groundwork and maybe did a working model of it while there.
Hey, by the way, here's a little thing that just popped into my head while I was eating Fruit Loops this morning.
Right.
Nikola Tesla, have a good night. He said that every time he left a room.
That was another OCD thing that he did. It wasn't. So, in 1882, he moved to Paris to work as an engineer, and he moved there to work for the Continental Edison Company. And this was a place that was supplying electricity to continental Europe, basically. And they sent him to Germany and Austria to fix some of their broken systems. Their dynamos, were going shot. They were blowing holes in walls and catching things on fire.
These were the good old days of electrical generation when it was literally like Bunsen Honeydew. Things would, nothing just quietly, turned off. Right. Oh, that broke. No, when things went south, they went explosively south.
Right. And the city was on fire when it went south. It was like when it went south. That's how south it was.
Like the devil went down there?
Yeah, exactly. There was a golden fiddle involved. But he was offered a bonus, a pretty hefty bonus, to go fix these things. And he worked there for a month or so and fixed everything. Fixed it and made it better. Came back, and guess what? No bonus.
Yeah.
No, that's great. You need to talk to my superior. You need to talk to my boss.
You didn't understand. We were joking when we said we were going to pay. Like, that's literally what they said. You don't understand that we were joking when we said we were going to pay you to do that.
Yeah, and this one... This one, not as much as the one that's coming up. Foreshadowing. Thunder sound.
Whoa!
But, oh, man. Glad I found that finally. So this one, not as bad, but they definitely passed the buck around to where it was, frustrating enough for him to be like, that's it. Don't worry about it. I'm quitting. I'm going to go to America. I'm going to find my fortune there. And when he was working there, he met and befriended a guy that would later recommend him to the Thomas Edison in America to work for Edison, because Edison was on the cutting edge of electricity pioneering and things like that. Tesla wanted to meet him. He idolized him. He thought Edison was the greatest, right?
So Tesla quits his job, gets a boat, a ticket for a boat, and it was like the smoothest, best boat ride of his life.
Sells all of the stuff.
Everything went great, except for when he was robbed.
Right.
Had all of his stuff taken, all of his money taken, and almost thrown overboard.
Right.
Owing to a mutiny.
He almost didn't catch the train. He had to apparently run and do one of those, movie leaps onto the train, and then scrounge together what change he had, and maybe he had like change and poems in his pocket.
Yeah.
And he...
That's so Serbian of him.
Right?
Am I right?
That's so Serbian. Yeah. That's our Tesla.
I'm Nikola Tesla. Good night.
Hey, I don't have anything but coins and poems. Are you all right? Come on.
Get over here,
Get
you
on
scamp.
here. Oh man, we're gonna get so many emails about that one. So
no, we're not.
So this was 1884. This was 1884. He finally makes it to New York. The first thing he does, he goes up to a policeman, asks basically, how do I get to Edison? The policeman's like, hey, get out of my face. He's like, Edison's down this way. Now get out of here, kind of thing. He's like, wow, America's great. This is wonderful so far. People are so friendly. That's what I think's the best part. There's pizza.
I'm so glad I quit that job I had back home where I spoke the language.
And they offered me money that they didn't pay me. So he meets Edison. He goes right to Edison's lab. Edison's busy working. He comes in. And he's like, yeah, what do you want? And Tesla's like, here's this letter of recommendation by, the manager of your company in Paris. And the letter famously said, Mr. Edison, I know two great people, you and this other man before you, basically. And Edison was kind of like, oh, yeah, you're so great, huh? Well, how about this? How about you go fix some of my dynamos that are catching some of these American naval ships on fire and other, They back then they put these generators and things on their ships to power the ships. Everybody, it was the latest craze. I mean, everybody wanted these things, but they were blowing up all over the place, causing fires. So he's like, go fix these dynamos on these ships, and then we'll talk.
And it's important to remember too, at this time in the world, I mean, that's why this guy in Yugoslavia knew Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison owned electricity globally.
Right.
It was his. Every place that was generating electricity was using his equipment.
Direct current was
so Thomas Edison had a huge reach, and he was a celebrity. He was a celebrity,
and he loved it.
Yeah,
he loved it for the celebrity, and he loved it for the money that it was raking in.
Yeah, and he was raking in buckets of money off of this, because it turns out this electricity thing was for real.
It was, and what's funny about it, it was not efficient at all. With direct current, they were going to have, if the United States was going to be lit up with direct current, you were going to have a generating station every 2 miles or so to power the electricity to carry further. And if one of those went down, it was like everything in between that one and the next one went down. It was just horribly inefficient. But it was very lucrative.
Yeah, absolutely. It made a ton of money. And there was, and when they got to as far as making these, they were able to sell the American people on these small generators in every neighborhood by saying, oh, well, what if something happens? That way, we don't have all our eggs in one basket, and we have these small regionalized power grids. It was part of the sales pitch. But it was a hard thing even for Edison, who was fairly savvy with the media. And,
Oh, yeah.
And to convince people who had never had electricity, who certainly were getting by just fine, that, now we're going to run wires everywhere. And don't worry about the occasional explosion.
Right. The fires that break out incessantly.
Right. And it was an amazing feat of his that he was able to sell people, not even just in the United States, but globally, on the idea of electrifying,
He was a great propagandist. If he had an enemy to take down or himself to prop up, he knew how to do it. He would get the word out. He would get the flyers out, the demonstrations, hire people to show either how great he was or how horrible the competition was, which we'll see in a little bit. But basically,
foreshadowing.
Oh,
good one. That's really good. I'm enjoying that sound. I'm gonna hear that before I go to bed.
So Tesla was going to basically work on these ships. And he did. He went straight there, worked all through the night, and was coming back to Edison's lab in the morning. And Edison was just leaving, basically, at the time, and saw Tesla. He passed him, and he was like, well, look at there, boys. There's our fine European out on the town.
Smartest Serbian ever, eh?
He was thinking that he stayed out all night partying, basically, and Tesla's like, well, I finished what you said, those ships are working now and stuff, and basically Edison just stared at him and then walked off, and according to Tesla, later he overheard Edison as he's walking off say, that's a damn fine man, something like something positive actually about him and stuff. So Tesla got hired by Edison, was working in Edison's lab with him, everything like that. Turns out Edison wasn't quite the guy that Tesla thought he was. He was definitely not the guy hygienically. Apparently he was just disheveled and dirty and did not care.
Which makes for a great sitcom, but a terrible laboratory.
And Tesla, on the other hand, with his OCD, he was just clean, clean cut, always dressed to the nines. He was just all up on fashion and looking good and being, feeling great. Edison didn't care. Didn't care.
Smelled like onions.
Probably.
There's another email.
So, our onion lovers. So, Edison finally offered Tesla, this is the big one, there was another thing he wanted Tesla to do. He said, if you can improve these dynamos that are blowing out, in some of these power stations, things like that. If you can improve these dynamos, get them working, make them better, there's $50,000 in it for you. Tesla's like, oh boy. Yeah. He's like, and he jumps at the chance, and he goes.
I'm gonna efficiency the crap out of those things.
Right, and he goes, and he works tirelessly. He works like 2 months straight, hardly sleeps, hardly eats, gets these things in pristine condition, gets them in Bristol fashion, and comes back and says, hey, look at this! I got them running, man. This is awesome. Look at what I did. Where's my $50,000? Edison's like,
I got a limo with prostitutes out front. I'm gonna need that cash now.
Can we make this happen? Edison's like, what are you talking about? Tesla, dude, that was a joke. This is you don't understand our sense of humor, okay? This was a joke. Right. I was joking. There's no 50. Just go sit in the corner. And like any intelligent human being, Tesla quits on the spot. Yeah. He's like, that is it. I am done with this. And who can blame him? I mean,
right?
You don't do that. And this is the second time it's happened to this guy. It's terrible. Now, Edison. This is going back to Edison, and Tesla not really get along. Edison thought Tesla was kind of an egghead, a theoretician, and cultured, and he held that against him, which is silly.
No, you can't trust people who are cultured and educated. Don't do it.
I guess not. So Tesla quits, and this is around 1885. And then with some investors approached Tesla, and he was able to form the Tesla Electric Light Company. And he by this time he's starting to develop some theories about alternating current, which is gobs better than direct current and more efficient and could go farther, could supply more energy, just better in every way. And he had some ideas for developing this. The investors were like, no, that's not what we want to do with this. We, part of our deal with bringing you in and helping you form your own company, you were given some stock options for this stuff. And since you want to do this, you're not going to get these stock options. So he's, again, cheated out of money that he's owed and patents and all that good stuff that could be bringing him royalties at this time. So he basically is jobless, has to get a job digging ditches.
Yeah, for the electricity company.
For Edison's company.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate salt in the wound. And this poor guy, I mean, he basically has a nervous breakdown about this time. Nothing is going right for him. He worked on this street gang for about a year. Finally, he meets a man by the name of George Westinghouse, who is another pretty big name in the electricity business and has some cash lying around. You might have heard the name Westinghouse.
Yeah, everywhere. all the time.
All the time. So he gets hired by Westinghouse in 1888 he gets hired by Westinghouse, and then in 1888 he moves to Pittsburgh, where Westinghouse's labs and operations base was. He works for him there. At this time he's coming up with theories for things like X-rays, what would later be X-rays. He's still working on alternating current. Westinghouse believed in alternating current. That's kind of why he brought Tesla into the fold and everything. Westinghouse starts giving him money to do this stuff, which was a godsend by this time, because who knows what would have happened.
He's now a short order cook somewhere.
So he finally agrees to work for Westinghouse, basically as a consultant. After proving himself, he's getting like $2,000 a month to do this. And this is 1888, late 1800s. $2,000 a month is just rolling in it.
Exactly.
He's just rolling. In one of his proudest moments, he becomes a U.S. citizen in 1891. He was 35 years old at this time and becomes a U.S. citizen and was just proud as he could be of this. He, again, during this time, he was innovating new things. He demonstrated wireless energy transmission. That was one of the earliest times he was able to do some of that stuff. He established, he moved back to New York and established a lab on South 5th Avenue. And that's when the alternating current really started taking off, and he really started being at odds with our friend Mr. Edison.
Which is actually an amazing section of American history. Like this huge Titanic nerd fight. I mean, like it was like internet forums, but in every major newspaper. Edison writes an op-ed piece just slashing to ribbons Tesla. Tesla puts one in another newspaper, just refuting everything Edison says, and these guys are going at it in the media.
Yeah,
because Edison, I mean, this is what he was bred in. He was, in a lot of ways, like a very, very intelligent, I mean, not to say that Barnum and Bailey isn't, but he has that he understands the showmanship of how to get things done. On the other hand, you've got Nikola Tesla, who is very quick to pick things up.
Right.
And so, while obviously, he got kicked around, he took his knocks when he came over, but he sees how this has to play out. He understands what Edison's doing. Yeah, exactly. He knows what Edison's doing. And Edison comes up with this amazing piece of just sham theater.
Yeah. This and by the way, the whole fight between them was called the Current Wars because it was between direct current and alternating current. Yeah, and Edison comes up with this propaganda campaign basically to demonize alternating current. It was terrible. Keep going.
And one of Edison's biggest moves in this happened in New York. There was an elephant that had killed some people, so it was determined that the elephant had to be put down, and it became this very public issue, and Edison steps in and he says, why not we be the beacon to the world, where we can put this animal down in a humane way, like we would put down a human being, because Thomas Edison had invented Old Sparky. He invented the electric chair.
Basically did.
And killing an elephant is a very difficult thing in a city, because it's now become a public spectacle.
There are no spears.
Yeah. It's no addle-addles to be found. But it's because it's such a public thing, they were actually having a hard time figuring out how to kill this elephant. At one point, they were literally going to try to hang the elephant off of one of New York's brand new all-steel skyscrapers, which obviously would have ended terribly. But into this public furor walks the white knight, the sheriff of New York City, Thomas Edison, saying, "Hold on, everybody, I've got this. We're going to electrocute this elephant. Use the same, compassionate, no-suffering methods we use on humans. Because the most dangerous thing we have that can kill an elephant instantly is alternating current. We're going to fry it with Nikola Tesla's crazy hokum."
And show you all what can happen to you if you mess with alternating current.
Yeah, you know that stuff he wants in your house where you keep your kids? We're going to we're going to roast an elephant in seconds with it. And he did. And again, can keep in mind, moving pictures are brand new.
Right.
It was filmed.
It was. You can find this actually on the internet. I don't advise searching for it because it's terrible to watch.
Yeah, it is very sad to watch. And keep in mind at the same time, very early technology moving pictures, some of the biggest blockbusters of the day are woman walks down street, train rolls down the tracks. Right. This is now a spectacle. This is something that people would put on YouTube today, Right. And it goes everywhere. It is shown
anywhere
in
they can show it.
Yeah, it is shown in movie houses across the country. And it is a huge setback to Nikola Tesla in his attempts to get alternating current established as the de facto U.S. current.
And leading up to this electrocution of this poor elephant, Edison actually, I read that he paid schoolboys 25 cents a head to go out and steal pet dogs and cats from people, and he would put them on this slate of metal and electrocute them with AC to show people. He was literally stealing pets and electrocuting them.
He's an evil genius.
I mean, this is Thomas Edison, folks. This is who's in the history books.
Yeah, this is the guy.
And he was all doing it in the name of money, so that he could keep his awful, inefficient direct current system on the market, keep his monopoly, keep raking in the dough.
Yeah, this was a huge push for him because this is what everything for Thomas Edison was based on, and Nikola Tesla's threatening that. Nikola Tesla, however, pretty quick to learn the rules of the game.
Yeah.
So he sets up his own circus show. He goes on the road. He has costumes made, multiple costumes made, and creates, in essence, an act that is performed in theaters everywhere, demonstrating the safety of alternating current, where he's holding these things. He's lighting torches with his hands.
He was the elephant in this. He was the one that was having alternating current pass over and through his body and showing that, it was not that bad. Someone that could actually hold lightning in their hand, basically.
Exactly. He made such an amazing show of it. It's the thing that turned the corner on him. He out-Edisoned Edison. And
Edison kind of shot himself in the foot because they did try to electrocute a murderer. This was basically the first electric chair. And the thing was, since Edison didn't know what he was doing, and alternating current, wasn't to be used basically for this purpose, this murderer didn't die the first time they pulled the switch. So it was one of those two-rounder things. And that kind of got people being like, let's stop doing this,
When asked for comment, Dr. Edison said it usually worked on cats.
Yeah. So besides those, that was kind of dipping down to the end of the current wars. What wasn't the nail in the coffin, though? Westinghouse was pouring tons of money into this. Edison was pouring tons of money in, backed also by J.P. Morgan, I think.
Ever heard of him?
Ever heard of that? They were both pouring so much money, and they almost went bankrupt, to out-propagandize each other in this. And the banks kind of stepped in. You know how banks do. You know how they do. Banks. You know how they do. They stepped in. They forced some mergers and stuff, which Edison's company merged with another one to become General Electric, basically. And Westinghouse was forced to merge as well, even though he didn't want to. But the banks were going to just they were going to pull all funds, and kind of set him out. Westinghouse, he doesn't want to lose his fortune, right?
Right.
So he has to do a merger, and the only way the banks would agree to this is if he would have dissolved his royalties contract with Tesla, where he was going to pay Tesla something like $2 or $2.25 for every. I think they were measuring in horsepower at the time, or something like that. But he was going to pay him for every horsepower of energy that was going to be consumed. Tesla, when this happened, just lost billions in future royalties because the banks wouldn't let it happen, and we're going to let Westinghouse go bankrupt.
So they just, instead of instead of ceasing to shaft him, they just find more and more creative ways to shaft him.
Right. And Westinghouse truly felt bad about that, which, Tesla was, at least it was like, well, at least you're not just doing this to me.
Yeah.
But Westinghouse and Tesla finally won the current wars when they won the bid to electrify the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago.
Ever heard of it? That was the
you
last
know
time.
them.
I'm not going to keep saying that.
Thunder sound. Ooh, snuck that one in. So they did this with alternating current and safely demonstrated how well it could work. And that did it. That was a tipping point. AC was the new standard, and that's history, basically. They then went on to get a generator up at Niagara Falls, which was a personal goal of Nikola Tesla's ever since he was young. They got hydroelectric power to be generated there.
There's still a statue of
There's
Nikola
a statue.
Tesla
There sure
at
is.
Niagara Falls to this very day.
Sure is.
Our friends in Buffalo,
Good.
please corroborate that.
Good on you all for that, too. But in 1895, a fire destroyed his lab and his work, which, not a pleasant thing for him or the world. And what's weird, tell me what you think about this, but immediately after the fire, a German guy filed for a patent for an invention that Tesla had almost completed work on and was ready to file a patent for himself. Immediately after the fire had destroyed everything.
Not impossible. I mean, he had set himself up as a very high-profile guy doing cutting-edge work. Not entirely unlikely. I mean, industrial sabotage happened then like it happens now.
Yep. Probably was easier to get away with than in some respects. Well, you can't light a corporation on fire today.
Yeah, that's true.
You can do some under the hand stealing stuff, but
You need a bank to really do that now.
right.
Oh, now we're libertarians. Not even libertarians, libertarians.
Libertarian. Little, will you? So then he sets up a new lab on Houston Street in New York. And this was kind of his famous lab, I guess. The famous
Yeah, this was his Andy Warhol shop.
Sure. In 1897, he demonstrated a radio-controlled boat to the military, and this was the beginnings of radio transmission. He had a working prototype a little earlier than that, even. But the person who was in the history books, basically, for radio transmission and developing radio technology was Marconi, and he actually won a Nobel Prize for coming up with radio transmissions, but it was kind of
Lame.
stuff. Yeah, Tesla had already figured this stuff out, and good news on that one. Actually, I think just not too long ago, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Marconi's patent on that and said yes, it was Tesla who did this.
I guess the point of this episode tonight is that every single thing that you think someone else invented, it's all Tesla. Everything.
Basically Tesla.
Everything in the history of everything
Hey,
is Nikola
remember
Tesla.
Monopoly?
Yeah.
Not the Parker Brothers.
Tesla.
Tesla. He became Tesla, the gunslinging inventor. Zap, 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 zap. Was it Parker Brothers or Milton Bradley?
Boy, we're going to get sued because... we're gonna get sued.
So, in 1889, Tesla decides to move out to ye old Colorado Springs.
My hometown, I don't mind adding.
Yes, Mr. Stecco is from Colorado Springs, and he moved out there so he could basically build a bigger lab, because, he's got all these inventions coming out of his noggin, and he doesn't have the room to put them in New York. So he wants to go some wide open spaces. Do you have any ties, any childhood ties or anything to anything Tesla from Colorado Springs?
It is the shame of this country that at no point growing up in Colorado Springs did I go to the Tesla Museum.
Is there one?
I don't know.
There probably isn't.
There might be now. I mean, people are coming around to his contributions to science.
Thankfully.
But no, I mean, honestly, I didn't ever hear about Nikola Tesla till I was in college. And that is a shame and a blight.
It's true. I mean, I went to college, and I don't think I heard of Tesla when I was there. It was only like a few years ago. I'm getting up there in years.
On the other hand, what if it's just the fact that I was just a really disinterested and lame student, and everyone was talking about Tesla all the time, and I was like sick the day they went to the museum or something?
That could have happened. Could have happened. Probably did. But anyways, he moves there. He does a number of experiments. It's kind of there's not a lot to go on because he was only there for about a year, and there wasn't a lot to come out of this in terms of, I don't know, writings and, things for us to learn about these days. But we do know that he did some really cool stuff. He proved the Earth was a conductor. He produced artificial lightning. He built a huge Tesla coil, which was just a way to harness, massive amounts of electricity.
He probably just called them coils, though.
Yeah, me coils. Hey, look at my me coils. You guys like it? That's the best.
Yeah,
that's the best Serbian.
Your Serbian accent sucks.
Aw.
Oh no, it's the best I've ever heard.
Me coil. It's kind of bordering on Italian. Yeah. So he leaves Colorado Springs, 1900. He goes back to New York and develops this plan for a huge transmission tower called Wardenclyffe, which was going to be built between 1901 and 1905. He planned for it to be the first broadcast system and signal, something to send out signals and power to, as he said, any point on the planet. It was that big. And he could do it, basically, because he figured out how to harness the ionosphere and use the Earth as a conductor and just send these waves anywhere. Pretty crazy. And he was to be backed by one of these guys you may have heard of from earlier and around, J.P. Morgan.
Oh, I know that guy.
He's back in the card game. So Morgan gives him, or tells him he's going to give him $150,000, which today's standards probably, I think it was around $3 million, something like that.
To which he replied, "Are you joking?"
Tesla again is like, "Okay, let's do this." Starts building the tower. Morgan, I mean, you can guess what happened at this point. Out of here, withdraws the money. Tesla writes to him incessantly, begging him, "What can I do? Please give me this money that you basically promised me. How do we get this money?
Come on, baby.
We got to finish this. This thing it's almost completed. We got it like 187 feet now, or however big it was." And Morgan just basically is like, "Well, listen, if you're thinking of supplying free energy to the world, you either think of a way to put a meter on it so we can get money, or I'm out of here." And Tesla's like, "You can't put a meter on this. This is something that the world should have. People should have access to free energy and be able to, get light whenever they want." Morgan's like, "Beat it. Get out of here. We don't want any more."
And Tesla said, "Screw you. I'm doing it anyway." And that's why we've had free energy ever since. Thank you and good night.
And back to the Ren Fair.
Yeah.
And so you see what happened there.
That's not how that turned out.
And that's when the roller coaster starts coasting back into the, what do you call that? Where do you get on the roller coaster? Anyway,
thunder sound.
It's all downhill from there,
right? And
not the fun downhill. His money and even some of his abilities, his memory, his ability to visualize, stuff and work on things, they just start to dwindle more and more.
And his OCD is creeping.
His OCD is awful.
It's becoming a greater and greater burden every day. He has to sometimes circle the building, the block that his building's on 3 times before he can enter. So
he becomes more of a hermit because he doesn't like, being around human contact. In 1931, he's 75 years by now. He actually is put on the cover of Time magazine, believe it or not. And in 1933...
Sexiest Men in Science issue.
Sexiest old man in science. Mm-hmm. In 1933, he moves into the New Yorker Hotel, which is where he spends the rest of his life. He lives another 10 years. And in 1943, he basically dies alone and broke in his hotel room. And interesting little tidbit, after he died, the FBI swooped in and just completely
all of his stuff up.
Completely ate all of his papers, his work, his notes, everything that he had there. They just gobbled it up. And it was a fight to get that stuff back to his family. I think his nephew fought really hard to get, all the stuff back. And I don't know about you, Stecco, but I'm sure they did not get everything back in that.
And that's the worst part when you have something like that. You have a man who's a genius who works so much in his own mind, and when the government does something so patently hinky as to show up, sees all of his stuff, it's very easy to say, "Well, I'm sure there was more things that weren't there."
But who knows?
Yeah, you just never know, because there are so many things that he has done that he was working on
and never wrote down, or
that he would discuss or say that he had partially completed at times. Yeah. Fantastic things that actually start bordering kind of into the occult.
It's weird, yeah.
Things that we haven't duplicated since. We still use power cords. He had wireless energy transmission. He was working on a death ray, which is awesome.
Yeah, he was something that he hated war and everything. He did think, I think I read somewhere, there were some wars that he said could be justified, but if anybody had developed this death ray, it would have ended wars the moment it was shot, kind of thing. And that's scary, it's a pretty scary thought, but...
Exactly, and he just wanted to weaponize this idea of wireless energy transfer, and, according to him, he built one. He did it. This was not like a theory in his mind. He told people, "Oh no, I built one. I have a prototype." That thing.
Who knows where that is?
Right.
That's a thing.
But
J. Edgar Hoover.
And on the other hand, you've got a guy who is slipping further and further, letting his OCD rule his life into a psychological distress. When you have a mind that over time loses its discipline with all that information in it and all that wherewithal, who's to say he wasn't at that point sort of crazy?
Yeah. I mean, right before he died, somebody wrote that he was saying he was developing a theory for gravity, too. He was
going to build an aircraft.
And didn't get a chance to have that materialize. But that's another thing I wanted to ask you about. Do you think, people can build Tesla coils today, and I think you can even probably search YouTube. I think I've seen just regular folk building Tesla coils, and they work and stuff.
Absolutely.
I understand that the world is just nothing but one big ball of greed right now, but why hasn't some schmuck tried another Wardenclyffe Tower? Why don't we have somebody just being like, "Listen, F you government, I have built a something that supplies free energy. Here you go, world. And government, if you want to come in and tear this down, or General Electric or ComEd or whatever, you do it, but now you're going to have to deal with people because they've seen that they can get free energy." Why is it that? And
it's possible that maybe maybe the energy isn't free. Maybe there's reasons that it doesn't work quite the way he thought it did.
Could be.
The wireless transmission works, but maybe it's horribly inefficient. I don't know. I am not an electrical engineer.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm just a neuroscientist / physicist, and it's the best I can be.
Yeah.
Those were lies.
You have your shortcomings, and you admit to that, and that's what makes you a great man.
It's why I had to get out of the space program. I could only go to the space shuttle so many times.
But I think if you can figure that out, or if are there no electrical engineers that want to replicate Tesla's work? Can they not, because he was that smart? What is it that we don't see something like this attempted? Maybe it's that they are teaching Edison in school and not Tesla and stuff, and people aren't getting. I don't know.
And maybe he's not Saint Tesla. Maybe he was falsifying some stuff. Maybe he was saying, "No, I'm doing this." Maybe he thought that's what he had to do. I don't know. But yeah, we certainly don't have any of the technologies that he seemed to be playing with 100 years ago.
Yeah, he was so far advanced then. He's still that far advanced now, it seems like, which is crazy. Some of the weird things. Well, in the end, I think he had over 700 patents issued worldwide that he inventions that he developed and stuff. He was an animal lover, he especially loved pigeons. Especially in old age, he'd go out and feed them in the park. Had one special pigeon, the white female pigeon, that he was in love with, like in love as in man-woman in love with, and he said loved him back too, and that was his pride and joy in old age.
Hey, guy's got a pigeon.
You can't knock Tesla. Whatever he wants.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say he can't try to make out with a pigeon.
Well, that's a funny thing.
Try to stop him.
He was celibate his whole life, from what I've read. Girls liked him. Girls were interested in him, but he just never. He was just kind of like, It's getting in the way of my science.
Yeah. You're slowing down my science. Can't have it.
Can't have it.
Vaya con Dios, lady pants.
One of his OCD things, he was disgusted by overweight people and bad dressers.
So he was delightfully eccentric, terrifyingly smart.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say this, one fun fact of my upbringing. I spent a number of years as a fairly hardcore, born-again Christian type, and had access to, homeschooling textbooks. I wasn't homeschooled, thanks, Mom. But, I saw those textbooks, and they actually, the portions that would talk about Nikola Tesla said that he got his information from demons. How's
Really?
that for a fun fact?
That's real? That's
a real thing, yeah. That Nikola Tesla did do amazing scientific things, but that the demons were telling him what to do because they wanted him to build increasingly more dangerous weaponry or something to that.
Interesting. Are these? I'm kind of interested in this homeschooling. These are Christian homeschool books?
Absolutely, yeah. Christian homeschool textbooks are amazing things to read.
Do they teach, like, here's the world was created 4,000 years ago, and some people think dinosaurs were around, and that's silly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that how?
Or that people think that dinosaurs are around, and they're totally right. They were Flintstones. Like, we all hung out together.
I mean, I think that's interesting. That's kind of a little tangent. Maybe that's a future episode we can get into. But that's pretty crazy. Well, I think it's crazy that they actually mention Tesla in them.
That was one of the first things one of the first mentions I ever had of Nikola Tesla, because a gentleman that I worked with was an electrical engineer and would talk about Nikola Tesla and some of the crazy experiments that he did in New York. And he was also very, very hardline, fundamentalist, charismatic Christian, and he was like, oh, absolutely, no, and he was actually the one who gave me the textbook.
Did he believe that Tesla was the devil's nephew or something?
Yeah, just that he was just a very smart man, and demons were telling him things, and he was doing them, and they were working.
Interesting.
Right.
In New York around this time, Tesla did like the social life, even with his OCDs and stuff. This was kind of middle age, early on, after he'd been there and had a name for himself. But he befriended some of the upper crust of the day, including people like Mark Twain and Sarah Bernhardt, people like that. He'd invite them over. He's like, come over to my lab and watch me do some electrics.
We're sciencing this Friday.
Yeah, let's do this. You guys want a show? Get up on this rubber mat and let me send a little lightning through you.
I'm going to mess up your haircut, Mark.
He also, I read that he believed women would one day become the dominant sex. And this is in the future, he's thinking. And I think he's getting to be right.
Yeah. I feel dominated.
I think one of the worst ironies, he won a prize in 1917 called the Edison Medal, which was
zing!
the top prize from the American Institute of Electrical Engineers. It's their highest honor that they could bestow. I gotta wonder what he thought when it was like, here's the Edison Medal, Tesla.
Oh, God.
Here you go. You're the best. You get the Edison Medal.
Here, Austin Powers, is the Dr. Evil Award for excellence in international spying.
Right. There couldn't have been an analogy better than that. I'll maintain. But yeah, it's like these guys named a medal after Edison. There was some talk at one point of Edison and Tesla maybe sharing a Nobel Prize, but that never happened.
Yeah.
And both of them were like, well, if he's getting one, I'm not getting one. And the other one, it was so for him to get an Edison medal, I just imagine was just, they were squeezing salt. They were squeezing lemon into that already salty wound.
And that's the thing, I wonder if all the pressure of that, I mean, he had such a rough ride through academia, through his attempts to do the science that he believed in. I mean, it just seems like, for as good as he was scientifically, like that classic book smart, street stupid, like he was consistently in with the crowd, and not to his failing, just as fate turned out, consistently in with the people who would least help him achieve the goals he was after.
Except for Westinghouse.
Yeah.
And then that time that Westinghouse kind of had to cheat him, basically, or they both lost. Which I don't think you can consider that cheating, but it was just tough breaks all around for this guy. And I don't know. The more you read about him and learn stuff, and there's tons of stuff out there. You guys should just Google it. YouTube it, Twitters it, whatever. You can find all sorts of stuff about Tesla, and it's just, it needs to get out there because the guy, I mean, you listening to this right now is a direct effect of what Tesla pioneered. I mean, they're magnets that are going into these, either these headphones or speakers that you're listening to this from, and those are because of Tesla. The electricity that you're using to power whatever device you're using, mobile, laptop, or desktop.
The death ray you use to thwart your enemies. Tesla.
You can't forget about that one.
Yeah.
So, the free energy that we all use.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that's Hoover's fault right now.
Yeah. Next time you go out drinking, and if you don't drink, next time you fall off the wagon. Raise one to Nikola Tesla.
Raise 3, I say.
Yeah, you fell off the wagon. What do you care?
The man's story needs to get out there, and he needs to get his dues. So that's Nikola Tesla in a very large electrical nutshell.
Ooh, which is also the name of our jam band.
Large electrical nutshell.
Yeah.
Are you ready to Opening for us, AC/DC.
Yeah.
So that brings us, of course, to our puns.
Mr. Floor, what do you have for us?
Well, I'll start it out today. I've got a few, and none of them are great.
They're puns. There's no possibility of greatness.
I'm gonna start out with this. This is a joke in itself, probably, but there's a Tesla radio station that plays alternating current hits.
Oh, that was pretty good. I thought that it was a radio station that just played the band Tesla.
No.
There
is a band called Tesla.
I like alternating current hits, though. That's pretty solid.
If you YouTube Tesla, don't just YouTube Tesla. YouTube Nikola Tesla, because unless you're a huge fan of Tesla, the band.
Yeah, unless you want to. Okay, I got one. It's called Nikola. They're lozenges for commercial yodelers. His family had a small business in the old country, herbal remedies. So, do you feel better about yours now?
Mine doesn't come with a horn.
Oh.
My second one, it's a Halloween shop called Electric or Treat.
Oh, I like that.
Kind of general.
Electrified Halloween costumes, maybe?
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, mine, bear with me, it employs a kind of subtle turn of phrase. Nikola Tesla's f*** Thomas Edison to death and piss on his grave brand insulating gloves. If you don't wear Thomas Edison to death and piss on his grave brand insulating gloves, you might get shocked. That's my pun. Did you see what I did there?
The thing I love about their slogan is that it's true.
Yeah.
It's a utilitarian slogan.
Well, he just wants you to not get shocked. And, well, he also wants you to f*** Thomas Edison to death and piss on his grave.
Oh, jeez.
We're good at what we do.
Oh, goodness. Well, that's our episode for this episode.
Yeah, we're done episoding.
Thanks for listening.
And feel free to send us emails. We got deliciously racist at times, I think. We didn't. I don't know.
Well, we didn't, but for those of you who...
Let me put paid to that.
For those of you who take it that way, I guess we did.
No, we really aren't, though.
And we're not. But...
Thanks for listening to our podcast about a scientist. 20-minute apology for any inferred racism.
And 20-minute talk about the Ren Fair.
Yeah, that was bonus. You're welcome.
So we actually have an email from a listener.
Yes, an email.
Yes, an email.
This is how it starts, people. This is the first trickle of snow that we...
Well, we had a pun last week.
Yeah, see?
We don't have
an
a pun.
avalanche starts.
We don't have a pun this week. We don't have a Mothman pun, but we do have some email about the Mothman episode.
Listener email, dude in his basement. No, he's probably not a dude in his basement. He's probably... It's
actually from a listener called Bahama Mama.
That sounds like a girl. We're 2 for 2.
Bahama Mama says, in the 60s, we had dial-up phone. And by that, she means one dialed the phone number from a rotary phone. Mm-hmm. I think we might have said, they were using Klondike 555 switchboards back then. Oops. Got that one wrong. And she also says, why wouldn't one extend the hand of friendship in this day and time? Have we not learned anything? Just because they're scary looking doesn't mean they'll necessarily harm you. So, Bahama Mama is in my corner when it comes to meeting the Mothman.
Oh, man.
And not shooting it
Not
immediately.
shooting it. Oh, well, I mean, let's say, first of all, Bahama Mama just kind of sounds hot. Put it out there. Bahama Mama also directly references the 60s, meaning she is a hippie. So, of course, she's going to want to, hug all the creatures of nature. Even though technically a pan-dimensional being that has been sent to warn us about future we can't see, but it can from its higher dimensional viewpoint, wouldn't necessarily qualify as wildlife.
Right. Or a tree. Nonetheless, thank you, Bahama Mama, for sending us an email and setting us straight about the switchboards.
Yes. Thank you, Bahama Mama.
And the rest of you guys, get on it.
Yeah.
Send us some mail. Go to blurryphotos.org and check out that contact us page, because there's a handy dandy little form where you can send us your puns, send us hate mail, send us love mail,
mail, not snail mail. We don't have a physical address. We exist in the ether.
That's right, because of Tesla.
Yeah, and I'd also like to point out that is .org. They don't just hand those out. You have to be an organization, and we are very organized.
That's right.
So if you were wondering if we're legit, yeah, what does my buddy .org have to tell you? That we're legit. That's what it is.
That's what it is to say. Awesome. Thanks for making it this far, if you're still with us. And for this episode of Blurry Photos, I am David Flora.
And I shall ever remain David Stecker.
And we will talk to you next time.
Woo!